Ethan Cole was used to winning. At 32 years old, he was one of the youngest billionaires in history. His company, Cole Dynamics, built orbital stations, advanced AI systems, and even small interplanetary shuttles for the wealthy elite. To most people, he was a genius entrepreneur. To his closest friends, he was simply a man who hated losing at anything. The night of the bet began on his private orbital station, Aurora Prime. It was a glittering structure that orbited Earth like a crown of glass and steel. The main ballroom was filled with guests from every corner of the world, politicians, scientists, actors, and investors, all moving beneath a massive skylight where the blue curve of Earth floated beyond. Music drifted through the air, glasses clinked, and cameras flashed. Ethan stood near the edge of the crowd with three of his oldest friends. They were all wealthy in their own right, the kind of people who spent their lives seeking the next thrill. One of them, Marcus Hale, leaned close and said with a grin, "Ethan, you've done everything. Flown to Mars, built an AI that beat every grandmaster at chess, and even hosted a zero-gravity opera. What's left for you to do?" Ethan smirked. "Something bigger. Something people will talk about for years." The conversation turned competitive. Another friend, Tyler Grant, shook his head. "You only take challenges when you know you'll win. What if I told you there's something you can't do? Something that requires more than money or skill?" Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Try me." Tyler lowered his voice so only the small circle could hear. "I bet you can't marry someone who's completely outside your world. No rich heiress, no tech prodigy, no one your usual circle would expect. And here's the twist. You have to stay. Married for a year. No breaking it off. No publicity stunts." Marcus laughed. "That's perfect. Let's see the great Ethan Cole deal with a real relationship." Ethan felt his pride stir. He had never backed down from a challenge, and this one was strange enough to tempt him. "Fine, but I choose who, and I'll win." They shook on it, sealing the bet. The terms were simple. Find someone unexpected, marry them quietly, stay married for 1 year. If he succeeded, he would claim bragging rights for life. Ethan didn't expect to find anyone that night. But fate had a different plan. Near the far corner of the ballroom, away from the loudest conversations, a small group of scientists stood by a display of holographic star maps. Among them was a woman Ethan had never seen before. She was tall, graceful, and spoke with a calm confidence that drew his attention instantly. She was explaining something to a group of curious guests, her hands moving to trace constellations in the glowing display. Ethan drifted closer, pretending to examine the maps. He heard her voice, warm, steady, and intelligent. "This star is sending out unusual bursts of energy. We think it might be a natural event, but the pattern is strange, almost like a language." A guest asked, "You really think it could be alien?" The woman smiled. "We don't jump to conclusions, but the universe is full of surprises." Ethan was intrigued. He stepped forward. "Ethan Cole," he said, offering his hand. She glanced at him briefly, then returned to her map. "Amara Johnson," she replied. "Astrophysicist, visiting from Earth." He was used to people reacting to his name, some with awe, some with envy. But Amara seemed unaffected. That only made him more interested. "What brings you to Aurora Prime?" "Research," she said simply, "and a chance to speak with people who might help fund it." Ethan found himself asking more questions, and for once he wasn't leading the conversation. Amara spoke about distant star systems, unexplored anomalies, and her dream of building a deep space research vessel. She was smart, focused, and had no interest in his wealth. When she excused herself to return to her colleagues, Ethan stood there longer than he meant to, watching her go. A thought crept into his mind. She was exactly the kind of person his friends would never expect. Later that evening, as the gala wound down, Ethan found Amara again. This time, he decided to act on impulse. "I have a strange proposal for you," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "I hope you don't mean research funding. I'm not looking for charity." "Not that," he said with a slight smile. "Marriage." Amara stared at him for a long moment, clearly unsure if he was serious. "That's not funny." "I'm serious," he said, surprising even himself with the conviction in his voice. 1 year. A private arrangement. No publicity. Think of it as an experiment in human connection. She studied him carefully. "Why?" Ethan thought about the bet, but for some reason, he didn't mention it. "Because you're different from anyone I've ever met, and because I think life should have a few unexpected turns." To his astonishment, Amara didn't walk away. She considered the idea, then said, "If this is a joke, it's in poor taste. But if you're serious, maybe I'm curious enough to see where it goes." By the end of the week, they were quietly married in a small ceremony aboard Aurora Prime. There were no reporters, no grand announcements. Just a brief exchange of vows before an automated officiator, with only the station's AI and a few maintenance drones as witnesses. As they stood together afterward, Ethan felt a strange sense of accomplishment. Not because of the bet, but because something in Amara's steady gaze made him think this might be the beginning of a story far bigger than he had imagined. What Ethan didn't know was that their meeting was no accident, and Amara's reason for accepting was far more complicated than curiosity. The first weeks of marriage were nothing like Ethan had imagined. He had assumed Amara would treat the arrangement as a formality, staying politely distant while they lived separate lives under the same roof. Instead, she moved into his private quarters on Aurora Prime as if she belonged there, setting up a small corner with her research equipment, books, and a wall of star charts. She did not ask for his help, but she did not avoid him either. Their schedules overlapped in odd ways. Some mornings he would find her in the kitchen, sipping tea while reading complex reports on stellar activity. Other times she would be awake late at night, typing notes about unusual radiation bursts detected by her team on Earth. At first, Ethan tried to keep his distance. He had companies to run, projects to oversee, and a network of contacts to maintain. But Amara's quiet focus drew him in. One evening, he found himself watching her work from the other side of the room. She was mapping a star cluster in 3 dimensions, the holographic display spinning slowly between them. "What are you looking for?" Ethan asked. "A pattern?" she said without looking up. "Something we have seen 3 times in the past decade. The bursts are too regular to be random. They come from the same region each time." He stepped closer. "So you think it's artificial?" Her eyes flicked to his. "I think it could be. But thinking is not enough. I need proof." Ethan had never been one to get excited about science that did not directly affect his business. Yet the idea of a hidden message in the stars intrigued him. "Why not use my network? I have deep space relay satellites. If you give me your data, I could run scans." Amara gave a small smile. "You just volunteered to help. That is progress." The next week, Ethan arranged for his satellite array to monitor the coordinates she provided. While waiting for results, they began spending more time together. She taught him how to read raw astronomical data, and he showed her how to optimize her analysis with advanced AI tools. It was a strange partnership, 2 people from completely different worlds learning to work as a team. One night, as they reviewed a set of transmissions, a sharp spike appeared on the display. Amara leaned forward, her expression suddenly intense. "That is it. That is the signal I have been tracking." The spike repeated at exact intervals, forming a sequence of short and long bursts. Ethan's AI translated it into a visual pattern, triangular, shapes connected by thin lines. "That looks like a symbol," Ethan said. Amara nodded. "It is. I have seen it before, but I cannot remember where. It is like a fragment from a dream I cannot quite hold on to." She shut off the display and stood, pacing the room. "We need a closer look." The signal is coming from outside the regular trade routes. It will not be easy to reach. Ethan thought about the challenge. He had the resources, the ships, and the crew to make such a journey. But this was far from a simple bet now. He was beginning to feel that Amara's search meant more to her than she was saying. The next day, over breakfast, he said, "If you want to go after it, I will take you there." Amara looked surprised. "Why would you do that?" "Because I want to know the truth too," he said simply. Within a week, preparations were underway. Ethan called in his fastest survey vessel, the Horizon Star, and selected a small crew he trusted. The ship was built for speed and long-range travel, with reinforced hull plating and advanced navigation systems. Amara brought her research modules and a portable lab to analyze whatever they found. On the day of departure, Aurora Prime hung silent in the background as the Horizon Star disengaged from the docking bay. From the observation deck, Earth was a glowing sphere below them. Ethan felt a rush of anticipation he had not experienced in years. The journey began smoothly. The Horizon Star moved through known space with ease, passing through trade lanes and drifting past mining stations. But as they approached the edge of charted territory, the crew began to notice strange effects. Navigation sensors flickered. Communication relays cut out for seconds at a time, and some nights, crew members reported vivid dreams of landscapes they had never seen. Tall, crystal towers under a pale sky, rivers of silver running through black sand. Amara recorded each report carefully. She began to show signs of restlessness, often staring out at the star field as though expecting something to appear. Ethan saw it, but chose not to question her yet. One evening, as they neared the signal source, Ethan joined her in the observation lounge. The stars outside seemed sharper, almost too bright. The repeating bursts on their monitors were now strong enough to hear as faint rhythmic pulses through the ship's audio systems. "It is calling to you, isn't it?" Ethan asked quietly. Amara did not deny it. "Yes. I do not know why, but I feel as if I am meant to find it, as if I have been searching for this my entire life." Ethan studied her profile against the glow of the stars. He remembered the night of the bet, how he had chosen her because she was unexpected. Now he wondered if it had been the other way around, if she had chosen him for a reason he had yet to understand. The Horizon Star continued forward, engines humming steadily. In a few days, they would reach the source of the mysterious signal. Ethan could feel the weight of the moment building. Whatever they found might change everything, not just for Amara, but for him, for humanity, and for the quiet agreement that had brought them together in the first place. The Horizon Star moved deeper into uncharted space. Outside the windows, the stars grew sparse, and the darkness between them felt heavier, almost alive. The signal pulsed through the ship's systems, steady and strong now, like a quiet heartbeat, guiding them forward. Ethan spent more time on the bridge than in his private quarters. The closer they came to the signal, the more he wanted to see what lay ahead. Amara was always there, too, studying the readings and adjusting their course with precision. She seemed more focused than ever, her eyes locked on the patterns the signal created on the monitors. The crew felt the change as well. Navigation Officer Rin reported that their instruments sometimes showed impossible readings, stars shifting position for seconds at a time before returning to normal. Engineer Talia swore she heard whispers in the static when the signal passed through the communications array. Even the captain, a calm veteran of deep space travel, admitted the place felt strange. On the fourth day past the edge of known maps, a sudden burst of energy shook the Horizon Star. Alarms rang across the bridge as the ship's shields flared bright against a wave of invisible force. Ethan gripped the railing and shouted over the noise. "Status?" Rin checked her console. "We are still intact. That was not a weapon. It was something else. It came from the same direction as the signal." Amara's hands flew across the controls. "It is a secondary pulse, encoded within the main sequence. I think it was meant to be a guide, not an attack." Ethan frowned. A guide to what? Before she could answer, the forward display lit up. A distant shape emerged from the darkness, something massive, far larger than any station or ship Ethan had seen. It hung motionless, silhouetted against a pale, dying star. The hull was smooth and curved, its surface marked with faint symbols that glowed and faded in rhythm with the signal. The crew stared in silence. Amara broke it first. "That is not human design, and it is not abandoned." The captain's voice was low but firm. "We approach with caution. Keep shields up and weapons offline. No sudden moves." As they drew closer, the scale of the object became clear. It was not a ship in the human sense. It was an ark, a drifting world sealed inside an enormous structure. Wide panels opened, like flower petals to reveal interior sections where faint lights twinkled. The signal pulsed again, stronger now. Ethan felt it through the deck plates, as if the ark itself was speaking. Amara's expression had changed. Her calm focus was gone, replaced by something deeper. Recognition. Ethan turned to her. "You have seen this before, haven't you?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Not with my eyes, but I know it. I do not understand how. It is like remembering, a place from childhood that you never visited." The captain requested docking clearance out of habit, but there was no reply. Instead, the ark's outer panels shifted, opening a long passageway just wide enough for the horizon star. "That is an invitation," Amara said quietly. The ship moved forward, engines humming softly. Inside the ark, the light was dim and golden. Strange markings covered the walls, some glowing faintly. There was no sign of life, yet the place felt alive, as if it was aware of their presence. They docked in a large chamber lined with sleek, curved structures that might have been control stations. The airlock hissed open and a warm breeze flowed in. It carried a scent unlike anything Ethan had experienced, clean, sharp, and faintly metallic. Amara stepped forward first, her movements slow, as if she feared she might disturb something fragile. Ethan followed, scanning the room. In the center of the chamber stood a tall, crystalline structure pulsing with soft light. The signal on their monitors matched its rhythm exactly. Amara placed her hand against it, and the glow intensified. A voice filled the chamber, not through speakers but inside their minds. It was not in any human language, yet they understood it. "Welcome, child of the envoy. Welcome, companion of the child." Ethan's heart pounded. He looked at Amara. "What is this? Who are they talking to?" Amara's voice trembled slightly. "Me. They are talking to me." The light in the crystal shifted, forming shapes. Tall figures with elongated features, their skin a deep bronze, their eyes reflecting starlight. They stood among strange landscapes, cities of glass and stone beneath twin suns. The voice spoke. Again. "We are the Chiron. We sent envoys to many worlds long ago. Some stayed. Some forgot who they were. You carry our blood." Ethan stared at Amara. "You are not fully human." She met his gaze. "My mother never spoke of her past. Now, I know why." The Chiron's images faded, replaced by scenes of disaster. A vast fleet scattered by storms of energy, ships stranded in dead systems, worlds abandoned. The voice grew heavy. "This ark is one of many caught in the collapse. Our people sleep until rescue arrives." "We sent the signal, hoping it would find one of our own." Amara turned to Ethan. "They need help to wake the others. Their systems are failing. If we do nothing, this ark will drift until everything inside is gone." Ethan felt the weight of the moment. He had come this far for a bet, a game of pride, but now the challenge before him was real, far greater than anything he had imagined. He took a deep breath. "Tell me what to do." Amara looked at him for a long time, as if deciding whether to trust him fully. Then she nodded. We will need every resource you have, and we will need to move fast. The Horizon Star's crew began unloading supplies and equipment. Ethan contacted his AI network through a secure channel, sending urgent requests for technical specialists, engineers, and medical teams. The captain set up a perimeter inside the Ark, scanning for hazards. As the work began, Ethan stood beside Amara, watching the crystal pulse with life. Somewhere deep inside the Ark, thousands, maybe millions, waited in silence. For the first time since he had met her, Ethan realized the truth. Amara had not been a random choice. She was the reason this journey had begun, and now she might be the key to saving an entire civilization. Inside the great Ark, the air was calm but heavy with the weight of ages. The Horizon Star's crew moved between the towering structures and smooth corridors, setting up equipment and mapping the vast interior, the crystalline core that spoke. To Amara stood at the heart of it all, its gentle light breathing like a living thing. Ethan stayed close to Amara, sensing that her connection to this place was the key to understanding it. She walked as if she had been here before, her hand brushing the walls, pausing at certain turns as though guided by memory. The symbols on the walls glowed brighter when she passed, fading again when she moved on. "You are sure you have never been here?" Ethan asked as they moved through a long hallway lined with tall, sealed chambers. "Not in this lifetime," Amara said softly. "But the images in my mind feel real. I remember faces I have never seen, voices I have never heard. It is as if the Ark is speaking to me through memories I did not know I had." They reached a chamber where the walls curved inward, forming a circle. In the center was a smaller crystal, darker than the one in the main hall. Amara stepped forward and placed both hands on it. The moment she did, the air seemed to shift. A low hum filled the space, and light rippled along the walls. Ethan saw it happen. The crystal projected a scene in the air between them. Two figures stood in a field beneath a sky with twin suns. One of them was a tall woman with bronze skin and eyes like molten gold. She looked almost human, but carried herself with a grace that seemed beyond human limits. In her arms, she held a small child with dark hair and curious eyes. Amara's voice was quiet. "That is my mother." The vision changed. The woman handed the child to a human man wearing an old-fashioned Earth flight suit. Behind them, a ship waited, its sleek design unlike any Earth vessel. The woman spoke words the crystal translated. "The child carries the envoy's memory. One day the call will reach her, and she will find her way home. Protect her until then." The vision faded, leaving the room in silence. Ethan looked at Amara, trying to take in what he had seen. "Your mother was one of them, a Chiron envoy." Amara nodded slowly. "She must have stayed behind on Earth after her mission ended. My father never told me. Maybe he thought I would be safer not knowing." Ethan's mind raced. "And this signal, it was sent to find you." "Yes," Amara said. "And now that I am here, they expect me to help them. But I am not one of their engineers or leaders. I am just a scientist from Earth." Ethan shook his head. "You are the one who found this place. You are the only one who could. That makes you exactly who they need." They left the chamber and returned to the main hall where the crystal pulsed steadily. The voice of the Ark filled their minds again. Systems failing. Power reserves at critical level. Life support at minimal function. Assistance required immediately. The captain of the Horizon Star approached. "We have mapped 3 of the outer sectors. There are pods everywhere, tens of thousands at least, all in deep stasis. But their systems are unstable. If we do not restore power, they will start failing within days." Ethan took a deep breath. "What do we need to keep them alive?" The captain turned to Amara. "Their systems are far beyond ours, but some parts are recognizable. Power conduits, thermal regulators, coolant cycles. We can adapt some of our tech, but we will need a lot more than what we brought. Ethan activated his wrist console and connected to his private network. Then we get it. I am sending a priority code to Cole Dynamics. They will deliver whatever we need. Amara studied him for a moment. You are serious about this? He met her gaze. I came out here for a bet. I thought it would be a game. Now I see what is at stake. If I can help save them, I will. Over the next hours, messages flashed between the Horizon Star and Earth. Ethan's resources moved quickly. Supply ships, engineers, and specialists began preparing for long-distance travel. The crew of the Horizon Star worked alongside Amara to stabilize the Ark's systems as best they could until reinforcements arrived. But the deeper they explored, the more they saw the scale of the problem. In some sectors, stasis pods had already gone dark. In others, damage from the collapse of the Chiron fleet had left entire sections sealed off. During one inspection, Amara and Ethan found themselves in a sector where the walls were cracked and a faint icy mist filled the air. Through a viewing panel, they saw a chamber filled with lifeless pods. Amara pressed her forehead to the glass, her voice barely above a whisper. We are too late for them. Ethan put a hand on her shoulder. Then we focus on those we can still save. Back in the main hall, Amara knelt before the central crystal and spoke to it. I will help you. I will not leave until we have done all we can. The crystal's light grew brighter, and the voice of the Ark replied, Your presence restores our hope. We will share our knowledge with you. Together, we will survive. That night, aboard the Horizon Star, Ethan found it hard to sleep. He kept thinking about how much had changed since the night of the gala on Aurora Prime. What had started as a challenge to his pride had led him here, to the edge of human knowledge, standing beside a woman who was more than she appeared, faced with the chance to save an entire people. As the hum of the ship filled the silence, Ethan made himself a promise. Whatever it took, he would see this through. Not because of the bet, not because of the thrill of discovery, but because this was something that mattered. And for the first time in years, he wanted to be the kind of man who rose to meet it. The Horizon Star's crew worked without rest. Every hour mattered now. The Ark's life support systems were running on failing reserves, and the stasis pods of the Chiron were fragile. Even the smallest failure in the network could mean the end for hundreds of lives. Ethan moved from station to station, checking on progress. He was not an engineer, but he had learned enough in the past days to understand what was being done. Amara was everywhere at once, guiding the work, translating alien schematics, and using her strange connection to the Ark to unlock sealed systems. Reinforcement ships from Cole Dynamics were on their way, carrying spare energy cores, coolant, modules, and repair teams. But they were still 3 days out, and the Ark did not have 3 days. The captain called Ethan and Amara to the bridge. His face was grim. We have a problem. The central power core is failing faster than expected. The secondary systems cannot handle the full load. If we wait for the supply ships, we will lose at least half the pods. Ethan clenched his jaw. What are our options? The captain pulled up a holographic display of the Ark. We can attempt an emergency bypass. We feed power directly from the Horizon Star into the Ark's systems. But doing that will drain our ship's core to critical levels. We will not have enough energy to return to charted space without help. Amara studied the display, and if something goes wrong during the transfer, we could lose both the Ark and the Horizon Star. The room was silent for a long moment. Ethan looked at the faces of the crew. They were waiting for him to decide. He knew the risk. If they failed, they would be stranded in deep space with no way home. But if they did nothing, thousands would die. He turned to the captain. Prepare the bypass. We are going to do it. The order set the entire ship in motion. Engineers worked side by side with the Horizon Star's crew, laying thick power conduits from the ship's main core to the Ark's central crystal. Amara coordinated from the Ark's control chamber, her voice steady as she guided the team, through alien interfaces that no human had ever touched before. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the sound of tools and the hum of machinery. Ethan helped carry heavy equipment, refusing to stand idle. His hands were sore, and sweat stung his eyes, but he pushed on. When everything was ready, the captain stood by the Horizon Star's control panel. "Once we start, there is no turning back. The transfer will be dangerous. The Ark systems may not accept the power at first. Brace for possible feedback." Ethan glanced at Amara, who was at the crystal interface. "Ready?" She gave a short nod. "Ready." The captain engaged. "The transfer." The ship shuddered as energy surged through the conduits. The lights flickered, and the hum of the Horizon Star's engines dropped to a low rumble. On the Ark, the crystal flared with blinding light, sending ripples through the walls. Amara gripped the control panel, her eyes shut tight. A warning alarm blared on the Horizon Star. "Feedback detected," Rin shouted from the navigation station. "The Ark's circuits are rejecting the transfer." Ethan's heart pounded. "Amara, can you stabilize it?" "I am trying," she said, her voice strained. "They do not understand our power signature. I need to adjust the frequency." For long seconds, the feedback grew stronger, threatening to overload both systems. Then, slowly, the alarms began to fade. The power transfer stabilized, and the crystal's light became steady. On the monitors, the stasis pods across the Ark began to brighten one by one as full life support was restored. The captain exhaled in relief. "It is holding. We are losing power faster than I would like, but it is holding." Over the next several hours, the transfer continued. The Horizon Star's energy core dropped to dangerous levels, but the Ark's systems came back to life. Climate controls began circulating warm, breathable air. Structural shields reactivated, protecting the pods from radiation leaks. When the last pod lit up, Amara leaned against the crystal, exhausted but smiling. "They are safe, for now." Ethan walked over and rested a hand on her shoulder. "We did it." But the victory was only partial. The Horizon Star now had just enough energy to maintain basic systems for a few days. If the reinforcement ships did not arrive in time, they would be as stranded as the Ark once was. That night, the crew gathered in the mess hall. There was no celebration, only quiet determination. The captain spoke plainly. "We have given the Chiron a chance to survive. Now we must survive long enough for our supply ships to find us. Maintain minimal power use. All non-essential systems will stay offline." Ethan lay awake in his quarters thinking about the gamble he had taken. He had risked his ship, his crew, and his own life. Not for a business deal, not for a record, not even for the bet. He had done it because it was the right choice. Amara found him there, standing by the small window that looked out into the dark. "You made a choice today that few would have made?" she said. He turned to her. "You made it with me." Her eyes softened. "We are not finished. The signal that called me here was more than a distress call. There is something deeper, something I do not understand yet, and I think we will find it before this is over." Outside, the Ark floated silently beside the Horizon Star, two ships bound together by shared energy and a fragile hope. The pale light of the dying star washed over them, and in that quiet, Ethan knew they were standing at the edge of a story that was still unfolding. The Horizon Star drifted in the cold darkness of space, tethered to the great alien Ark like a lifeboat beside a sleeping giant. The emergency power transfer had saved the Chiron, but it had also left the human ship nearly empty of energy. Every movement, every light, every system was now carefully rationed. Ethan woke early, not because of an alarm, but because the quiet felt heavier than usual. The constant hum of the engines was softer now, almost fading. He dressed quickly and headed for the bridge. The captain was already there, staring at the main display. A small, blinking icon pulsed in the corner of the screen. "What is it?" Ethan asked. "An incoming signal," the captain said. "Not from our fleet. It is coming from somewhere ahead of us." Amara entered, her expression sharp. "That signal is Chiron," she said immediately. "Older than the Ark's systems, but still Chiron." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. If it was another Chiron ship, then perhaps the Ark had not been as alone as they thought. The captain leaned back in his chair. "The signal source is about 1 day away at current drift speed. We cannot go faster without draining life support." Ethan folded his arms. "Then we go slow. If someone is out there, they might help us. Or they might be in danger too." For the rest of the day, the Horizon Star moved in silence toward the source. The Chiron Ark floated beside them, its systems quietly stable thanks to the shared power lines. When they arrived, the crew saw it, a smaller vessel, battered and dark, drifting without active lights. Its shape was different from the Ark's, sleeker, built for speed, but it had the same silver-blue alloy and curved markings of Chiron design. Amara's voice was low. "That is a scout ship. They must have been searching for the Ark." The captain ordered a scan. "No active energy readings. The ship is cold." "Then we board it," Ethan said. "There might be survivors." They took a small shuttle across, with Ethan, Amara, and 2 security crew. The scout ship's hull was scarred with long burns from weapons fire. The docking hatch was warped, forcing them to cut their way in. Inside, the air was stale, but breathable. The lights flickered weakly when Amara found the emergency controls. The corridors were narrow, designed for speed and efficiency rather than comfort. They found no crew moving about. Most compartments were empty, but in one cabin they discovered 3 stasis pods. 2 were cracked and empty. Their systems failed. The third was intact, holding a tall Chiron male in deep sleep. Amara checked the pod's display. "Low power, but stable. He is alive." Ethan tapped the control panel. "Can we wake him?" "Not yet," Amara said. "We need to bring him to the Ark where the systems are stronger." They moved deeper into the ship, searching for anything else useful. In the control room, Amara began examining the logs while Ethan and the others checked the storage bays. Most of the data was damaged, but one recording still played. A flickering hologram appeared over the console, showing the face of the same Chiron now lying in stasis. His voice was calm, but urgent. "This is Commander Vile of the Chiron Scout, Vessel Silver Wing. If you find this message, the Ark is in danger far greater than its failing systems. The enemy that attacked us will return. They follow the Ark because it carries something they want. I do not know how much time you have, but prepare." The hologram cut out abruptly. Ethan felt a chill in the air. "What enemy?" Amara shook her head. "I do not know. But if this commander was looking for the Ark, he must have known it carried something important." They returned to the Horizon Star with the stasis pod. The captain had the Chiron moved to the Ark's medical bay, where life support was strongest. While Amara worked to stabilize him, Ethan stayed on the bridge, looking out at the darkness beyond the ships. The words of the message repeated in his mind. They follow the Ark because it carries something they want. That night, Ethan could not sleep. He walked through the Ark's corridors, past rows of glowing stasis pods. Thousands of faces slept peacefully, unaware of the danger approaching. He wondered what they had fled from. What kind of force could cripple ships like the Silver Wing and leave no survivors but one? The next day, the reinforcement ships finally appeared on the scanners. Relief swept through the crew. 3 Cold Dynamics heavy transports moved in beside the Horizon Star and the Ark. They carried energy cores, repair drones, and fresh supplies. Ethan met Captain Hale, leader of the reinforcement fleet, in the Horizon Star's conference room. Hale was a tall, sharp-eyed man who wasted no time. "We are here to help secure the Ark," Hale said. "But we also intercepted strange sensor readings on our way here. Unknown vessels, shadowing our route. They never approached, but they were matching our speed." Ethan leaned forward. "You think they are following us?" "I think they were already following the Ark," Hale replied. "And now they know exactly where it is." Amara entered with urgent news. "The Chiron commander is waking." They went to the Ark's medical bay. The tall figure inside the stasis pod was now sitting upright, his eyes sharp and alert. His voice was deep, and though accented, he spoke, slowly enough for the translator to keep up. "I am Commander Viel," he said. "You must leave this place. The enemy will come for the Ark, and they will not stop until they have what is inside." Ethan stepped closer. "What is inside?" Viel's gaze was steady. "The Ark is not only a refuge, it is a vault. Inside its central core is something the enemy believes will give them control over all Chiron worlds. If they take it, my people will never be free again." The room fell silent. Ethan realized the rescue mission had just turned into something much larger. The air in the underground tunnel was thick with tension. The hum of the power core grew louder with every step. Admiral Voss, Darius, and Leora stood side by side near the heavy blast doors that sealed the core chamber. Their breaths were steady, but their minds alert. They knew the enemy was coming. Outside the sealed doors, muffled sounds echoed through the tunnels. Heavy footsteps and low mechanical noises warned that the enemy had brought their most powerful forces. The rhythmic pounding grew louder, shaking the metal walls around them. Voss adjusted the shield device on his arm and glanced at his companions. "This is it. We hold here. No one gets through." Darius tightened his grip on his sidearm, his eyes scanning the dark tunnel ahead. "We're ready, Admiral." Leora checked her ammunition and weapons. "Let them come." Suddenly, the tunnel ahead exploded with a violent blast. Dust and debris rained down as the enemy's drilling machine crashed into the blast doors. Sparks flew as the thick metal groaned under the assault. The machine was a massive crawler, with heavy plating and rotating drills designed to tear through solid rock and metal. It advanced slowly but powerfully, forcing the defenders backward with every turn of its drills. Voss activated his forearm shield, the device emitting a bright blue field. He stepped forward, meeting the machine's attack head-on. His shield absorbed the blasts and sparks, giving him a moment to signal the others. "Target the machine's power core," he commanded. "We can disable it." Darius and Leora moved quickly, firing precise shots at the crawler's exposed engines and power conduits. The machine shuddered under the attacks but kept advancing. The enemy troops behind the machine surged forward, armed with energy weapons and close combat gear. They were prepared for a final push. The defenders took their positions, forming a tight perimeter around the blast doors. Voss moved with skill and experience, deflecting attacks and pushing back enemy soldiers with his shield. Darius and Leora fought alongside him, their teamwork seamless. They covered each other's blind spots and communicated with quick hand signals. Despite their determination, the enemy pressed harder. One soldier broke through the perimeter and lunged at Leora. She dodged and countered with a swift strike that forced the attacker to retreat. The drilling machine gave a final roar and smashed through a section of the blast doors, opening a narrow gap. Enemy soldiers began pouring into the tunnel beyond. Voss moved to block the entry, raising his shield as the attackers poured through. The battle grew intense, the sound of clashing weapons echoing through the corridor. Suddenly, the tunnel lights flickered and went dark. A hush fell over the fighters as they adjusted to the darkness. "Emergency power failure," Voss announced. "We must hold our ground without the lights." Leora activated her helmet's night vision, scanning for movement. Darius followed her lead. The enemy used the darkness to their advantage, striking from hidden angles. But Voss's leadership kept the defenders focused. Minutes passed like hours as they fought in the shadows. Just as their strength began to wane, a deep vibration filled the tunnel. Bright lights flooded the corridor as reinforcements arrived. Fleet soldiers, armed and armored, poured in from a side entrance. Voss's eyes brightened. "We are saved!" The reinforcements joined the fight with renewed energy. The enemy soldiers faltered under the fresh assault. Together, the defenders pushed back, forcing the enemy out of the tunnel and sealing the breach once again. With the battle won, Voss looked at Darius and Leora. "You have done well. Your courage has saved this city." Darius smiled tiredly. "We were just following your lead, sir." Leora nodded. "The city owes you its thanks." Voss smiled softly. "No, it is the people who protect the city. We all play our part." As the shield above the city remained strong and the power core hummed steadily, the three stood together, ready to face whatever challenges might come next. New Avalon had survived.